The Department of Justice just moments ago announcing criminal charges against the man accused of starting the Pacific Palisades fire that killed 12, caused billions of dollars in property damage.
Today, we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades earlier this year, killing 12 people, destroying more than 6,800 structures, both homes and businesses, and damaging over 1,000 more buildings. The complaint unsealed today charges the defendant with destruction of property by means of fire, a felony that carries a mandatory minimum 5-year federal prison sentence and is punishable by up to 20 years in federal prison.
It alleges that Rinderknecht started that fire in Pacific Palisades on New Year's Day, a blaze that eventually turned into one of the most destructive fires in Los Angeles history. Among the evidence that was collected from his digital devices, his digital footprint, was an image he generated on ChatGPT depicting a burning city. Words fail to describe the callousness, the depth of the evil that we witness or can read about in this full complaint. But it's the death and the destruction, 6,800 buildings burned to the ground, right. Another 1,000 damaged, one man who hopefully will spend the rest of his life in jail.
Is there a political motive, did it say?
I have not read the full complaint because it dropped while we've been on the air, but the full complaint from, and this is Bill Asaley, the federal prosecutor in Los Angeles. So good on Bill Asaley, who I think we've all spoken to him at one point or another. But this is important for everyone in Palisades, Los Angeles, who have been failed by the state leadership and the local leadership, particularly with the rebuilding, to have some justice.
Yeah. Does it strike you as odd that the maximum penalty is only 20 years?
Yes.
And what did they say, the minimum was 5?
5.
And the max for burning down a city?
Well, this is what I struggle with. You're dead on, because I have a lot of clients that suffered through this, right? And I grew up in Florida for a while. You live through natural disasters. This was a man-made, caused, intentional crime. And everyone that suffered the consequences is going to have to suffer for their lifetimes with that. People's houses completely destroyed. It can't be rebuilt.
Right.
And he may only get 5 years? I think that's ludicrous.
Well, I agree with you on Dagan, on the justice piece for sure. And yet we've also been covering on this show how much trouble people in that area have had getting permits to rebuild. They were supposed to be, this was supposed to be the glide path to rebuilding. All the competent city leaders and state leaders are supposed to put their full force behind getting this done. I don't know, somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but everything I'm following on this is they're not getting anything done there.
Loathsome Gavin Newsom's whole approach to government this is a microcosm of that. I mean, there's many reasons why he's a horrible public official and probably a human being. I don't know him, but based on what I know about him, I don't like. But this just shows you, because if there was one thing where you needed him to come through, right? If you're a homeowner, is this. And I know people there that are still struggling. Listen, I know rich people that are struggling. If you're rich, you can throw up your hands and say, all right, we'll wait it out. A friend of mine has a house, like a compound in Hawaii, so he doesn't, he lost his house in Palisades, but it doesn't matter. But if you're like someone that's kind of, by the way, they were middle-class people in this community. Mm-hmm. They're so screwed by government bureaucracy
and the insurance companies.
And insurance companies. Now, that doesn't mean it's just it's. I don't want to demonize insurance companies.
I'm saying that from personal
they're just
knowledge.
Yeah,
that they are the people who want to rebuild or stay in the area, and there are many people who have decided to leave. Right. I know them personally. They have decided, my community burned to the ground,
I know.
And my friends and family members are not coming back. I'm not rebuilding. I'm relocating somewhere else.
And the insurance companies react often to regulations, as you know, that are imposed by the state. So I mean, this is a crisis. And by the way, what's fascinating about this, from a political standpoint, besides the tragedy, which I think is horrible, it's not fascinating, but for me, from a political standpoint, is how some guy that's so incompetent, I know he has nice hair, he's so incompetent, how this guy could be the front runner. I mean, he is maybe the worst governor in the country, aside from the dude that runs Illinois is running Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. And yet these are the best they got. And they talk about Trump. We could sit here and nitpick tariffs and this and that. We have a cognizant man in the White House who exerts power and gets deals done for the United States. Some of it I disagree with, some of it I don't, but he's competent. Yeah. Look at these morons that are on the other side of the fence.
They keep getting notoriety. I mean, look at
just
Mamdani. It's baffling to me that people can't see through it, that it's so obvious.
And where's Schumer saying about Mamdani? It just shows you that the sort of intellectual decrepitude of the Democratic Party right now.
I'm not changing the subject, but you're talking about the leadership in California. There's a video of Katie Porter, who is a gubernatorial candidate in the state, getting into a spat with a reporter and trying to get up and leave the interview, where she, in essence, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, she didn't like the follow-up questions that the reporter was asking nicely and threatened to get up and leave. And she said something to the effect of, I'm a leader, and I don't want to get in an argument with you about, well, on camera. And it was one of the most uncomfortable things and I've seen a lot of uncomfortable things. It was laughably uncomfortable. I digress, but she wants to be the governor of that state.
Ooh.
Jackie is reading the complaint.
I'm reading the complaint. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna.
It's
gripping,
riveting.
right?
So they talk about how he drove his Uber to this specific location. They've got surveillance footage, and they lay out the case of how they're able to put this all together. And the songs that he was listening to on the way there, there were more questions into ChatGPT. Once he left the scene, he put the question into ChatGPT, are you at fault if your cigarette lit a fire? And ChatGPT said yes. He apparently did try to call 911 several times, but because he was out of range, his call did not get through until he got to the bottom of this trail that he was on, but somebody else had already reported the fire to 911 at that point.
So it seems like it was a mistake?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's one aspect of this. I was actually digging through and trying to scan Dagan if I could see any potential motive, but this is a long complaint, so I haven't gotten it
So the
yet.
fire was started on New Year's Day, and it smoldered and underground and reignited into the Palisades fire on January the 7th. Brian?
Well, no, I'm appreciating Jackie's context, but I'm also thinking about, it just struck me, this is a 29-year-old guy, right? Mm-hmm. So another one of these cases, now I don't, it doesn't sound like a mistake, I don't know, I'm not going to prejudge that obviously, but this 29-year-old guy looking up paintings of burning forest or burning city?
Pardon me, this is important.
Right.
They go on to say that smoking ended up being excluded as a cause.
Okay.
So that was something that he was looking at, but you don't know what his mental state was at this point either.
It brings me back to young person mad at the world and lives in a world where somehow technology seems to enable this guy to gin up the reasons to do something absolutely devastating, either to an individual in some cases, or in this case, 12 dead, 6,800 structures burned, 1,000, you can't inhabit them. I mean, this is a pattern in a certain generation of people who think that the nuclear option is somehow ethically justified if you've got a grievance with the world.
Are we sure about that with him? I mean,
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, but I'm looking at some of the details.
He's been accused of maliciously setting a fire.
Right.
The Lockman fire,
Yes.
January the 1st, which smoldered underground in the winds on January the 7th. basically surfaced the Lockman fire and started the Palisades fire.
And they have it in here. They say the investigative team determined that the cause of the Lockman fire was incendiary, i.e. an intentional ignition of a fire in an area or under circumstances where or when there should not be a fire. It was that fire, as you say, that then went on to cascade into everything else.
And he asked ChatGPT to draw a dystopian painting of a burning forest.
Yeah, there you go.
Coming up, too big to fail, more like too big to ignore. Why dozens of small businesses are asking the White House to level the playing field. We're talking about antitrust when we come back.